What a good day. What a wonderful thing you're doing here.
We need to find more formats like you're doing now to keep this going now. And also when we get back.
Everything in those comments is so empowering, so supportive, so beautiful. And that is what we do in the room every month.
This was not 100% what I expected, which is good.
People will really, really need it.
It's really important to us to use Singular Sensation, yes, as a safe gathering place, but also as a place to amplify and support and offer a safe space too.
How do you get so good at this?
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this very special intern edition of Singular Sensation Online. My name is Jenny Walls. I am a white-skinned woman with medium-length, wavy brown hair, brown eyes, wearing an orange shirt against a rainbow-covered brick background. My pronouns are she, her, and normally I'd say I'm your host for today. However, given that this is our special intern edition, our interns from the David E. Gardner Apprentice Director Program are taking over the show today. So I'm so excited to introduce them to you. Please, from your living room to my brick wall, join me in welcoming our intern team of Cass, Ikevelli, and Devni de Silva. Hello! Welcome, welcome team.
Yes, amazing. Hi, Jenny. Hi, Devni.
Hi everyone.
So this is your episode. You have been so hands-on, bringing in the guests, hosting conversations, producing segments, bringing in musical guests. Like, to say I'm proud of you both would be such an understatement. So thank you for being part of our team.
Thank you so much. This has been such a journey and such a wonderful time. I'm forever grateful.
I know the singular sensation community is so welcoming and so nurturing. I feel like I already grew up like by 3 years from experience. So thank you.
Oh, well, listen, it's easy when you have two incredible human beings like you both. But listen, since this is the intern edition, I guess it's all you guys now. So I guess my job's done. Show's yours, y'all. Have a great time.
It looks like Jenny's gone.
Okay.
Shall we take over at our own spot?
I think so.
All right.
Let's get started.
Devni, do you want to introduce yourself to our newfound audience?
Absolutely. So my name is Devni. My pronouns are she and her. I am a brown-skinned woman with black hair in a ponytail, and brown eyes. I am in front of a blue background. And Cass, over to you.
Yeah, amazing. I'm Cass. Any pronouns are cool with me. I am a brown-haired, white-skinned settler woman sitting in a little bamboo chair that's relatively new to me, and I'm obsessed with it. Highly recommend getting a big chair for your room. And Devni and I are both wearing orange shirts. You would have noticed that Jenny was as well. I want to call attention to that now. We're doing this in support of the Indigenous community. We'll have moments throughout the show where we'll put in spaces to donate or call attention to different things that you can kind of interact with. Absolutely do that if you're able and if you are wanting. This community's been very supportive in kind of having that solidarity there. So I'll hand it over to Devni to kind of expand on that.
Yeah. As an immigrant, I want to acknowledge and recognize my responsibility to this land and also the people whom the land was stolen from. So with that in mind, I guess let's get started. So for our episode, we have a jam-packed episode. So to begin with, Cass had a chat with Jess Watkin. Amazing. Love her. Jenny had a chat with Sarah Luby, who we were happy to have on the show. And then I had a wonderful chat with George Alveso. So thank you for being on the show, everyone.
We had some wonderful performances we had Jeanette come and dance for us. We had the Drifts come in. We had Sarah give us a little performance. We have some beautiful art showcasing today. So definitely stay tuned to catch all of that. We also have some side stuff going on, like smaller promos, like Side Biz Spotlight. We've got Tits and Teeth podcast, super exciting and cool. We've got Clare Blackwood doing a bit with us, new, exciting, and very cool.
And we were the co-producers too, so I can't even keep up with this episode, but I know you're gonna love this.
If you wanna stay tuned on the action, follow us on Instagram at @singular_sensation. We are there for you to join, or just hit up this YouTube channel, like it, subscribe it, do all the stuff that you know to do. It helps us and it helps you stay in touch with the community, which is always growing and always wonderful. So,
do you think Jenny's coming back?
I think that this is our time to shine, and let's make it worth it.
Let's do it. Let's get started.
Amazing.
Sanana Sempi Na Gusti Gusti Hey 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 Na Gusti Na Gusti and Sanana Sempi Na Gusti Gusti Hey, hey, ho.
To you.
Kelsey, it's not my birthday.
It's Alevizos' first birthday. We are so grateful to have been welcomed by such a beautiful, supportive community.
And of course, we wouldn't be here today without our amazing roster of vendors and you, our supportive customers.
As the business keeps growing, so do the costs of keeping it running. So this year, we are having a little fundraiser to raise money for site improvements and maintenance costs.
A portion of the proceeds will be going towards the Art for Aid project, a charity dedicated to providing art supplies and programming to remote Indigenous communities.
Every dollar you donate will give you one entry into the biggest giveaway we have ever had. You could win prizes from Ice and Cocktails, Magic with Chris, Michelle Thibodeau Art, The Sunshine Shop, Wishbone Vintage, LC Natural, Editing by Ellen, Dearly Designs, and Beautifully Monica!
On July 8th, we'll be announcing the winners at 8:30 p.m. on our Instagram Live.
We hope to see you there. Check out the poster with all the details. Thank you for continuing to support Side Biz. Bye!
Bye!
I am joined today with a marvelous person that I had the pleasure of learning from in my university courses, and now I get to talk to personally, which is so exciting for me. So I would like to introduce everyone to Jessica Watkin.
Hello.
Hi.
Happy to be here.
And so for access, I am a white female person sitting in a little bamboo chair with a white shirt.
And this is Jess speaking. I am also a white settler female person. I've got long pandemic brown hair, and I'm sitting amidst a mess behind me in a room full of so many books and yarn. I use she, her, and they, them pronouns, and both are like very welcome. Not a lot of folks use my they, them pronouns, but it is very validating when people do. But any pronouns offered in respect and love is great. I am an artist scholar. I'm blind. I work with textiles and scripts and movement, but I also do a lot of dramaturgy work. And I actually truly think that as an artist, dramaturgy is where I thrive. And so, yeah, that's something that I do. I'm also a scholar. I'm finishing my PhD at this Center for Drama at the University of Toronto. And my research is in disabled artists and how they create performance. And on that note, I do have the first Canadian anthology of disability plays that's coming out this fall, October 2021. So that's very exciting. And that has all of my artists that are in my dissertation, basically.
What does your world in dramaturgy look like?
Amazing. What a fun question. I feel like I don't get asked this at all ever. So thank you. You know, I started this work as an audio description consultant. That's how I kind of began. And as we continue to do that, it turned out that like what I'm actually doing is dramaturging the audio description. I'm listening to it and asking good questions like, when so-and-so says I love you on the stage, are they smiling? Because that's important. And that, you know, it kind of began with audio description. As a blind person, I was the person that was asking the right questions. And I think that kind of taught me how to ask the right questions, which I think is a big part of being a dramaturg is you're asking thoughtful questions about the work, not necessarily for an answer, but to be the person to ask those questions so that thing is being thought of. So the kind of jobs that I pick up right now, I've decided to be quite picky. It says on my website that I'm predominantly working with disabled artists. And I'm doing that intentionally because I like them. And I also think I'm creating this thing. This dissertation is my PhD is going to be in disability dramaturgy. The book that comes out of this work is going to be like Canadian disability dramaturgy, the School of Disability Dramaturgy, according to Jess Watkin, which I believe my committee member said the last meeting. And I was like, I don't know if I'm going to have a school of dramaturgy. That feels a little bit too close to like patriarchal.
I would go.
Well, I'd happily take you. But so yeah, I get to choose who I take on, and I like to work with disabled people because it feels like we don't have a lot of focus and nuance in the understanding of how we create our work. Whereas if I work with a non-disabled person, I'm like, yeah, but you can conform to theater's normal ways of working. Pre-2019, I would take on gigs that were with non-disabled folks who were creating a piece that either had something with disability in it or wanted to be as accessible, kind of more in that accessibility theater. And I decided the end of 2019, maybe early 2020, we had a think tank here in Toronto where we were talking about this program called the Good Host Program at the Inside Out Theatre, which is a disability theatre in Calgary, and how to bring that here to Toronto. And I basically, as one of the only disabled people in the room, said on record that I'm not interested in making theatre companies look good anymore. And that is what I would probably say is my disability dramaturgy. I'm not in the business of making you look good anymore. I'm here to support disabled artists. And then alternatively, I've been started dramaturging with theater companies as well. I'm currently working with Nightwood Theatre, and we have been going through a disability justice, disability dramaturgy practice where they've told me some goals that they want to do. They want to have a disabled staff member or the capacity to have a disabled staff member at the theater company. And they're working with me to make that happen. And that is a really cool facet of my job. So the big thing about disability dramaturgy is that I am the person in the room prioritizing the care and support of the people in the room. It was baked into that process. I was at production meetings. I was at every tech dress, and it's not that I'm like the protector or advocate for support and care. It's more just like, oh wait, can we hold on for a second? Could we make this cue a little bit longer? Or could we make the gesture easier for Ophira to do? Like, that's what I'm doing in those spaces. I am the provocateur of the space, not to be like, oh, I have something to slow us down. It's, I have something that might help us here. I always call myself a creative problem solver, and that's just what dramaturgy is to me.
Is there something that you notice either emotionally or within the work itself that you can definitely, that working with someone that has your expertise definitely like does for the artist, does for the work itself kind of thing? Yeah.
There is this amazing blog, which I highly recommend everybody go look and read and absorb and worship. It's called leavingevidence.wordpress.com, and it's Mia Mingus's blog, and she has this amazing piece about access intimacy. Access intimacy is when you walk into a space and you do not have to explain anything. An example would be Ophira Khalaf, who wrote literally Titanium. She went to Winnipeg from Toronto during the winter of 2019. So like, as Canadians, we all know Winnipeg, not a great place to be in the winter. Immediately someone is washing her wheels.
Yeah.
And she's just like, and that she didn't have to ask. Like, that's access intimacy. So I think like that to me is a huge thing that people get from working with other disabled people. And because dramaturgy isn't something that's like advertised for disabled people to do as a job.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of blind dramaturgs. There are a lot of dramaturgs. There are not a lot of disabled ones. There are a couple. And, you know, I'm referring Ophira a lot because she was kind of my most recent in-person experience of dramaturgy. But, you know, she said to me, working with an emerging artist unit and not a non-disabled dramaturg or director or people, and then moving into a process working with me, she's like, you get it. You don't ask stupid questions about things, you know, like she would talk about her surgery and other non-disabled dramaturgs would be like, is that relatable? I walk in, I'm like, oh my God, tell me more about this surgery. What happened? Who did you see? How many doctors did you see? Because it's not meant to be relatable for non-disabled people.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not even A, B, C, D. That is the point. I think it's actually quite inspiring for me as a disabled person to start working on advocacy and boundary work for non-disabled people. I just taught my first university course this past term, just finished, entirely online, and I was teaching kind of radical approaches to performance, and I was talking about intimacy training. And I said this sentence to my students, who third and fourth year students at the University of Toronto, and said, even though you've signed a contract to be in a play, you don't have to kiss. You do not have to do anything in that space that you don't want to do. You still have the power of consent. And my students thanked me for saying that.
Yeah.
And something shifted inside of me that was like, oh, we're not teaching people to say no. We're teaching them this is the way. This is the way that theater is done. This is the way that theater training is done. This is the way a rehearsal goes. This is the way that actors are. And it's not true. And it's really scary. I think it was really scary for me to kind of realize that no one had empowered them to feel consent in a space.
Yeah. These questions don't get asked. What questions can we start asking? What actions that can start us in the right direction towards this being common practice?
I would say start thinking about what you think a performance is. What is performance? What have you known it to be? What could it look like if it didn't look like the way that you are glued to and married to? You know, thinking about your own assumptions about what you understand theater and performance to be, and who you think is deserving, who is there, who is really like thinking about the reality of it. And then, you know, taking that moment of reflection and really thinking about what you need as a person, as a theater creator, as a producer, as whatever you are. What do you need in this process? And if you didn't have to do it the way you were taught or the way you understood theater and performance to be, what excites you? What could you do that could be
Yeah.
different? Becoming familiar with the community, honestly, and then just like asking questions and being honest and being real. Like that is all that we ask. And then growth begins. We all have to start somewhere. And admitting that you want to make that change and that you are trying to do something different and more exciting, like that's dope. That's exciting. So, you know, we're all going to just be excited for it.
Thank you so much for joining this conversation. It's been absolutely a pleasure.
Thanks for having me. This is fabulous.
Hey fam, I'm Kyla Musselman.
And I'm Jen Thiessen, and together we are the ladies of Tits and Teeth podcast. We love to chat musical theatre, dance, the arts, and life.
Our vibe is all-inclusive, curious, and educational. We like to uplift everyone around us and encourage you to live your best life. You can listen to our entire library wherever you find podcasts. And while you're there, you can check out a very recent episode with Singular Sensations' own Jenny Walls and Stefan Dixon.
Oh my gosh, I love them. And you know where to find us, legends. We're on Insta at Tits and Teeth Podcast. We're on Twitter at Teeth Tits, and our website is titsandteethpodcast.com.
We're pretty cool, we're kind of cute, and we love and hate Zoom.
So whatever you're facing this week, legends, remember to keep those tits up and those teeth out.
Because we love you.
Oh, cheers, guys.
Hey everyone, Jenny here. I am a white-skinned woman with medium-length wavy brown hair, brown eyes, a pink ruffled shirt in front of a brick wall with some rainbow paint on it. My pronouns are she, her, and I am so thrilled to welcome the wonderful, marvelous, luminous Sarah Luby to the show.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Sarah Luby, as Jenny said. My pronouns are she, her. I have, what are they? Dark gray glasses with pink rims on the top. I have blonde shoulder-length hair. I have whatever this is, orange and blue polka dots, a shirt, and I am a Caucasian woman in her mid-20s. And I am so excited to be here. So thank you, Jenny.
I'm so excited for you to be here too. Thank you for joining us. You do a lot of work, you know, as an ambassador and as an advocate and as a role model. And I love what you said about wanting to become the role model that you didn't have.
Mm-hmm. For a long time, you know, I didn't want to talk about my illnesses, at least not openly. Like I would speak about it to family and friends. And if anybody ever saw me checking my blood sugar or giving an injection, I would be more than happy to like speak about it. That wasn't an issue for me. But I always feared that, you know, speaking about it publicly in terms of my career would affect the trajectory of where it was going. Because I think you see a lot of successful actors and performers who start to speak about their struggles once they've made it, per se, quote unquote. And so then you feel like, well, I can't speak about it until then. And for me, that's where this idea of being the role model that I didn't have came from, because I want kids, specifically younger, to know that you don't have to hide that part of your life, right? Like it's such a big part of your life, whether you want it to be or not. Sadly, you don't have a choice. So why hide it? Why hide it? I was diagnosed at 11 with type 1 diabetes. And I was diagnosed in the States, actually. We were on a family vacation in Minneapolis. I think that's greatly influenced my artistic practice. As I said earlier, having an experience like that where, you know, you were essentially told you're lucky to be alive, I think shapes you. I don't think I realized at that age how it shaped me. But, you know, I grew up really fast from living that life.
Did you worry that it might be seen as a liability in the industry?
100%. I was fearful that I wouldn't be cast in things. Fearful is, you know, growing up as a musical theater performer and being a dancer, that people would think I couldn't do 8-hour rehearsals. And of course, I'll admit there's struggles. It takes so much preparation. It takes being so in tune with your body, which I think performers are in general. But even things about advocating for myself, like saying, hey, I need to have juice on the side of the stage, or, you know, not sneaking it backstage as a water bottle when, you know, there's a rule that you can only have water backstage. I just didn't want to be different. I didn't want to be seen as a liability. I didn't want people to think that they had to take care of me. And the fact is, it's not people taking care of you. It's just you speaking up about your accessibility needs. You know, the fear of people thinking that is going to cost the theater more money. Going back to the liability thing. And it's really not. But it's this thought that is preconceived in people's heads. And I think that's a fear that you don't want to be the person bringing something down.
Yeah.
That's why you stay quiet. I was working on a film a couple months ago, and it was the first time I'd ever spoken up for myself. And I said, I need juice boxes on set. And it's not a big request, but for me, that was terrifying because it meant relying on someone else. When you do have illnesses or disabilities, you put so much onus on yourself and so much responsibility. And the idea of letting anyone in is terrifying. And the idea of rejection or knowing the parts that I would be cast in, and then people knowing this certain part about my life and them thinking, you can't do that. At the beginning of the pandemic, I started sharing my story a little bit of who I am as an artist and also a disabled person. Mm-hmm. And I have found since doing that and since doing my mentorship and sharing my song and my story, which was terrifying. I won't lie. I was in tears the day I shared it because I didn't know how to feel, because I realized this is something that I can never take back now. It was always it belonged to me. Mm-hmm. Now it belongs to the world. And I had control of who knew about it. But I did it because I wanted kids and anyone to know that they can do anything that they want to do and nothing's going to stop you. And, you know, being you is the most powerful thing. Yeah. But I've found since doing that, I think I've become a better performer and a better person because I'm more open, more willing to give myself to people and to allow them to take things from me. I can combine my love for theater and film and accessibility and how I'm going to do some pretty cool things in my career involving that. Don't know what they are yet, but they're going to be cool. This is your story. It's your choice whether you want to share it with people. Or even things about like when you need to speak about accessibility needs, you don't need to speak about it to the entire cast and crew. If there's one person like a stage manager, that's who you speak to about it. And then they take that information and advocate. Is that the right word?
I think so.
We're going to go with it. They advocate for you. You have liberty over your body, over your mind, over your choices. Like you control that. Nobody can force you to share these things. So it's just understanding that. And you know, I think it's a thing that comes with time and it comes with practice and learning and knowing your own self-worth. It's ultimately up to you and nobody can force you to discuss something if you don't want to do that. And it's just going to take time. But knowing that you have that power, I think that is powerful in itself.
We love David Connolly. He's joined us a few times and he's just such an inspirational human. And that's how we met, actually. So tell us about your work with David.
Oh my gosh. I just have nothing but good things to say about him. So I was accepted into the RMTC inaugural national mentorship. That's like the longest way I could have possibly said that.
that's what it is. So
I didn't know. No. And basically they told me, shoot for the stars in terms of your mentor. I knew going into this mentorship, like in my application, I'd spoken about how I want to work on accessibility and invisible disabilities in the arts. But I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do with that. I was actually thinking I wanted to start a program for kids with disabilities in the arts or some form of theater company. So I think I had distanced myself personally as an artist from the topic. And was it in our first or second conversation that David said to me, Sarah, you were a performer. I can see it when you talk, like when you speak, that's what you love. That's who you are. So why are you taking that part away? You can do both. And he was like, but the thing that makes you special is your gift, your singing voice, your acting. He's like, so you have to lead with that, because if you want to make change, you have to lead with what your superpower is. I was excited and I was invigorated by that conversation. I'd proposed to him commissioning someone to write me a song during this process, like a musical theater song. And then the next week I came back to him and I was like, well, what about this? What if I worked with someone and somehow we discussed invisible disabilities through this? I essentially had to open up more than I've ever really wanted to someone who wasn't exactly part of my family. So that was a huge part of it. But in terms to have the most honest song be written, that was extremely important. So that's how Invisible came about. And I was like, hey, I want most of this to be in black and white. And then when I'm on stage is the only time it's in color, because that's when I feel like I can truly be myself. I can truly let go of always thinking. I think I'm always in my head. I think a lot of people are always in their head, but I'm always in my head because I'm worried, is my blood sugar going low? I have to be responsible for this. It's like I'm taking care of two people almost, but when you get on stage, that's when all of those feelings go away. And
something that started as, a mentorship and a partnership resulted in such a beautiful expression and sort of signal of hope and of solidarity and of advocacy and awareness, just from, like David said, using your gift and doing what makes you feel the best. What a cool thing. Any last words, anything you'd like people to know? The space is yours to take.
Oh, be generous with others and be generous with yourself. I think that's something that we all need to grant to ourselves, and that we don't do enough. To understand your worth, to realize that you don't have to fit into a box, which is something that I'm still trying to learn. And just to be your most authentic self, because I think when you show up as that person, not only are you the best human being you can be, but you're going to be the best artist you can be. And that's what I would say.
I think that's beautiful. And I think we could use a little more humanity in the business side of things. Sarah Luby, thank you so much. And I'm going to let you introduce your oown video. So please take it away.
All right. Now playing is Invisible.
Invisible, so invisible. One way from the outside, another from within. Yes, invisible, so invisible. The world out there is unaware. The things I keep inside, the things I bear. Don't try to rescue me. Some people have to be an adult before they're 13. Some people have to spend their childhood in adult-sized dreams. But you don't get get a say in the matter. You tell yourself to keep going, get up and get at her and go. And so you grow. Some people look in the mirror and they're hiding, making a choice with every breath they take, deciding should they scream it out till they're satisfied, or keep their secrets safe inside, 'cause then I'm still me, and no one will see me differently, shouldering the burden, hide away the hurting from the world, until it feels like you become invisible, so invisible. One way from the outside, another from within, yeah, invisible. Well, it can be livable. The world out there is unaware. The things I keep inside, the things I don't share. If I could have one day off, only just one day off, so I could feel beautiful, so I could feel like me. If I could have one day off, only just one day off, where I'd be released from the struggles, the headaches and troubles, go free, and I would breathe. I would breathe. Don't try to rescue me. Some people have to be an adult before they're 13. But you don't get a say in the matter. You tell yourself to keep going, get up and get at her and go. And so you grow until it feels like you become invisible, so invisible. Always hiding in plain sight. You think you know who I am, right? But I'm invisible. Let me be invincible. Don't try and rescue me.
Welcome back to Late Night in Canada. I'm your host, Clare Blackwood, and I am so pleased to be coming out of my inter-season hibernation to bring you the latest on what's going on here in our glorious country. And speaking of glorious, it was Canada Day last week. Yay! A chance to celebrate what makes our country truly great. The Rocky Mountains, poutine, the Ryans. But there was also a huge debate that raged over whether celebrating Canada Day in any capacity was a slap in the face to the fact that we have so far discovered over 1,000 unmarked graves of Indigenous children in residential schools across the country. And that is just the start of these investigations. And I realize it's been a few days, but this is the kind of shit that I would be all over normally, and it hurt me to not be able to rant about it. So let's briefly talk about what happened. While Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and NDP leader Jagmeet Singh both acknowledged that Canada Day should be a day of reflection and maybe not celebration out of respect for those lives lost, a Ledger poll found that after being asked Do you feel, with all the questions about Canada and its historical record, it would be best to cancel Canada Day this year? 3/4 of respondents said no. 3/4 of Canadians were apparently worried that the Canada we know and love would crumble into dust and be forgotten if they weren't allowed to storm onto the streets, wave tiny paper Canadian flags around, and then leave the mess for someone else to clean up. I think there's a metaphor in there. Huh. Opposition leader Aaron O'Toole made a fun little speech 2 days before Canada Day where he acknowledged that while finding unidentified mass graves of Indigenous children was a big old bummer, he couldn't stand by and watch evil left-wing splinter cells destroy his chance to get wasted on a hill somewhere watching his friends try to set off homemade fireworks.
I'm concerned that injustices in our past or in our present are too often seized upon by a small group of activist voices who use it to attack the very idea of Canada itself.
Cool. So what exactly is the very idea of Canada itself, Aaron? Because from where I'm standing, Canada as a country literally wouldn't exist in its current form if we hadn't strolled in, went, oh, this place looks nice, so glad we're the only people here who matter, shoved Indigenous people onto RCMP police reserves and their children onto residential schools like we were auditioning for Marvel's newest supervillain, Captain Colonizer, and then just kind of built Canada up from there. At its core, our country was created on this shit, and it was going on until 1996. That's a whole 25 years ago. Most of us were still alive then. I was absolutely not, because I'm very young and beautiful and young, and I really just need you to go with me on this. But still, Canada is a baby country, and for a baby country, we've got a lot of skeletons in our, well, churches and schools. So when you say...
I can't stay silent when people want to cancel Canada Day.
I mean, I wish you would, bud. And it's obvious that he's trying to reach past his party's hardcore base into the realm of the moderate Canadian by saying all of this, but it doesn't make it any less fucking irritating. We are truly just beginning to reckon with our nation's history. And all people were asking for was that we take one Canada Day, just one, to reflect on the damage that has been done to Indigenous peoples. Like Idle No More co-founder Sylvia McAdams stated, canceling Canada Day is the bare minimum recognition of the ongoing colonization and genocide perpetrated against Indigenous peoples across Turtle Island. So, however you ended up spending Canada Day, whether it was in an orange shirt in solidarity with Indigenous peoples, marching in a protest, quietly celebrating at home, or yes, getting trashed in a backyard watching your friend Chet get carted off to the ER after saying, watch this, and then lighting a firecracker somewhere in his body that firecrackers shouldn't go. The biggest takeaway is that we can and should continue to reflect on what Canada means to us and what it would be like if we hadn't decided that it was ours for the taking a couple hundred years ago. There is a lot of good to be thankful for in this country. Case in point. But it doesn't mean anything if we can't fulfill the basic promises we've made to our Indigenous communities. So let's keep the momentum going, keep pushing our politicians to fight for change, and stop pretending that them saying we can't cancel Canada Day in future means anything more than I'm afraid that facing the consequences of our ancestors' actions means that I'll have to work harder to make things right.
Hi, my name is Devni, and my pronouns are she and her. I'm a dark brown-skinned woman with brown eyes, dark hair, dressed in a white top in front of a blue background. Our next guest is a University of Toronto and Sheridan College theater and drama graduate. He's an actor and an advocate for representation of people with disability in media. Welcome to Singular Sensation, George Alveso.
Hello.
Hi. Hello.
How
It's been
are
so
you?
long. I'm good.
I
How are
know.
you?
I'm good. I'm good. You know, typical pandemic life at the moment, but what can you do? But for anybody that doesn't know me, my name is George. My pronouns are he, him. I'm wearing a tank top. I'm behind a window. And I am a white guy in a wheelchair who's part of the LGBTQ plus community. Oop. And I am an actor and advocate. I wanted to audition for Etobicoke School of the Arts, but I couldn't because they're not wheelchair accessible. And you would think that a liberal type of high school would be a little more welcoming, but they weren't at the time. And I don't know about now, but at that time I was like, okay, well, I'll go to another high school. When I graduated back in 2019, I booked a job for Holland Blur Review for the Dear Everybody campaign. And that was kind of like targeting against ableism in our industry, in our world, and trying to kind of start the conversation around what we can do better as people for actors with disabilities in the industry. And when I did the job, I got contacted by the union to do an audit for accessibility around Toronto, or around the casting houses, and seeing if they're wheelchair friendly or not, and whatever. It was a full summer long thing where we went to, I think, I lost count of how many we went to, but we didn't really tell a lot of people we were coming, and we did a bunch of different audits to make sure that they were kind of, doing the work to make it a little more inclusive for everybody. And you would be surprised with the amount of them that didn't pass audit, but they're getting better. But it's still a lot of work to do. And then after the audit was completed and I was doing some work, and then we went into the pandemic. And then after that, I've been doing some more work with Holland Blur Review for the Dear Everybody campaign.
We talked about ACTRA, but what inspired you to do this? Why did you, there were people before you, and what made you want to take the extra step and talk about it and fight for this?
Well, it's really funny because I actually never thought of myself as an advocate. And then what happened was when I booked a theater contract back in, it was February of 2020, which seems like so long ago now.
Yeah.
And I did an interview with the artistic director of that theater company. It was a big one. It was out in Waterloo. It was for Drayden Entertainment, and he was talking about how you're the first ever graduate of a professional theater school in a wheelchair, and I did not know that at the time. And when I graduated back in 2019, I never thought I was going to be an advocate, but then I started getting involved with the union and then going to council meetings and starting to do the fight. And I realized very quickly that there was a lot of work to be done, even in the time that we're in now. You would think that would be a lot better, but I think that in a way, the disability revolution is kind of being ignored by a lot of the different movements that have been kind of coming forward. Because even though I'm a white male and I completely understand my own privilege, there's other people with disabilities who are part of the BIPOC community, and I think the intersectionality between LGBTQ and BIPOC and everything with disability is widely ignored by the community, and there's a lot of ableism even within the LGBTQ community. And I think that we have to kind of open that up, because why can't disability be sexy? Why can't disability be marketable? Why can't disability be all of that? And I think that is the big takeaway from all of my advocacy work. These major network TV shows or films or whatever all over North America, because Europe is a little more different. I don't really know enough about that market yet, but what I know about North America, and it's a very able-bodied centered industry, right? And I don't know what it is, because I've tried talking about it, and I don't know if it's the lack of training and outreach that people are doing within the industry to make sure that people with disabilities can compete for those types of roles. But why is it also like a lot of the time I'm getting put for roles that have to do with my disability? Why can't it be the fact that I happen to be an actor in a wheelchair? I've done my formal training. I've done all of the necessary steps for me to have a good career. And yet there are still a lot of barriers in place because of the fact, I think the major problem too is the networks and the creative people and the producers and even the casting directors. They have to have a lot more creativity than they currently have, because I think everyone has such a narrow-minded view of what our world is like. And if you look, if you even walk on the street in Toronto and you see how multicultural our city alone is, and in all walks of life, does our media represent that properly? No, fucking no. Like, not at all, right?
Yeah. As coming back to a topic today, representation of disabled bodies on media. How can we do better? What needs to change in your opinion? I know this is a big question for one person to answer or come up with a plan, but what do you see that should change?
I think the main thing that people have to do is just education. I think that, our world is not built for the non-able-bodied individual. Like, we have a very able-bodied world that we live in. Like, it's like, a community that kind of embraces diversity. I would put it in quotations. I find a lot of the time people don't really care, and we're just kind of left in the dark. And I think that education and putting us in the forefront of creating work that can really showcase a lot of our, what our world really is made up of, I think that would be great. I think that networks and executives and writers and everything they have to all, I think people with disabilities have to be hired at every level so that we're able to kind of create good work and not just, like stereotypical work. And I think that is the big thing, right? And I think too, it's like we have to create roles that don't have to center around disability. Like, why can't I just be a lawyer or a doctor or an individual who falls in love or the romantic lead? Whenever I find disability being the main role, we're pitied. We're pitied. We're in a hospital bed. Oh, woe was me. I live such a terrible life. Oh, feel bad for me. Everyone feels bad for the main character. Oh, look at that trope. Well, it's a terrible storyline. Oh no, he got into a car accident. How is he going to live his life? Like, I'm tired of it, because I don't live my life like that. I don't fucking feel any pity for myself, and people shouldn't have to. And if people want to ask me questions about my disability, go right ahead. I don't fucking care. I would much rather you ask me if I'm paralyzed or not, because I'm not, than to assume that every person in a wheelchair is paralyzed. Like, it's such a fucked up mindset that our world lives in, because it's like, why do we have that generalization of everybody with a wheelchair is paralyzed? It's like a friggin' huge spectrum of things that people haven't even heard of. If you just ask the individual, they would feel more like an individual than a fucking pitied object.
Want more information? How can they get involved? How can they contact you?
Being Twitter or Instagram, I think that would be fine, and people can direct message me if they want to know more about my work, if they want to collaborate ever, if they want to do anything like that. We can definitely go from there, and then people will know more about my work, because I do post about it all the time.
George, thank you for being here. Thank you for chatting with me. Thank you for taking the time to share everything that you're doing. You're doing amazing work. So thank you for coming on the show today.
Thank you very much for having me, and I hope everyone learned something and they enjoyed watching.
And now, the Drifts, performing Evil Woman.
Finish this fraudulent game, 'cause this misery has no name. Pick up the pieces from the floor below. The shattered moments glisten in the evening glow. You may have picked a fight, but it's my war. You always made a point of keeping score. This innocence is colored now in black and blue. And those nasty words are only something you would choose. Oh, there's no one left to blame, no one left to. There's no one left to blame, no one left to make me feel like I am. Nothing more than just an evil woman. Make me feel like I am. Nothing more than just a evil woman. Oh, the evil woman. Can't fix the damage that you left behind. The debris and ashes are all that you find. And this strange fixation put on something so untrue. The old is gone and now so must come anew. Oh, there's no one left to blame, no one left to. There's no one left to blame, no one left to. There's no one left to blame, no one left to. There's no one left to blame, there's no one left to. Make me feel like I am. Nothing more than just an evil woman. Make me feel like I am. Whoa, nothing more than just an evil woman. Evil woman.
We miss open mic. We miss seeing all of you.
I can't even believe how much I've missed you guys.
I feel like I'm living my best Rosie O'Donnell Broadway life right now.
We have our sound check room. We also have the bar.
Thank you guys so much for giving people this platform.
That's very similar to cleaning in a bar.
Yes, but the first one. Yeah, that's the time. So even people in the chat are like, that's times. Time solo.
I just realized I'm in my bedroom.
This is Taboo Broadway edition.
This is the good in the world. We're so glad to be part of it. Thank you.
How amazing was that?
It was very fun from like tip to tail. It was amazing. I had such a fun time. Tell me about your favorite parts, what you learned, anything. Tell me it all.
Okay, I couldn't agree with you more. Jess, amazing. You're into it with her. Mind blowing. The work she's doing. Okay, I love her. That's it. I'm just gonna say it. I love her. And my into it with George. I loved catching up with him. It was a nice chat. He, talked about so many important things, and it was eye-opening. Yeah, I couldn't be happy with this episode. And let me pause here and talk about the drifts. Evil woman, obsessed.
Yes,
that's it. Cass, what about you? What did you like?
Wonderful performance from Jeanette. I was so blown away. It's amazing that we got the chance to include her in the show. And just like the general entire experience of this, from like learning how to produce, learning how to be a part of a team that works so well together, and also like reaching out to new people, learning how to communicate, being a part of the entire process, editing, all those kinds of things that I, as someone wanting to go into this industry, get to have the opportunity to get good at and make mistakes with. Jenny and Stefan and the entire Singular team and Devni, all you guys made it so that it was like super possible to have that growing kind of like journey. So thank you to you guys. Also thank you to Hart House and to the Dr. David E. Gardner Apprentice Program Director Program. This is an amazing opportunity. To the Singular team, chef's kiss.
I agree with you. The last couple months has been incredible, such a learning opportunity. And I've grown so much within this community. And all the incredible people, guests that I got to see has been, I have no words for it. On top of all that, I am actually thinking about a career change. I'm kind of thinking from going from acting into producing, more specifically full-time Singular Sensation producers.
Absolutely.
So
we're just gonna take over, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
We'll just kick Jenny and Stefan out and just just slide in. Yeah. Alrighty.
To our audience, if you have any feedback, if you have any questions, comments, anything about the show, you can email us at singularsensationmondays@gmail.com. That email is always open for you. You can follow us on social media at @singular_sensation, and we're happy to join you into the community.
All right, Cass, virtual high five. Ready?
Ready?
For this episode. Ready? Let's go.
Amazing. Thanks for watching, everyone, and we'll see you next month.
Okay, thanks, everyone. Bye.